Family you descend from, Commander. You fight for them today.
Greetings, history enthusiasts. Today, we are going to delve into one of the most pivotal moments in history, a battle that not only showcased the brilliance of one of the greatest military minds of all time, but also changed the course of civilizations. I'm talking about the Battle of Gaugamela, fought in 331 BC between Alexander the Great and King Darius III of Persia. The Battle of Gaugamela is often considered one of Alexander's greatest military victories. It was not just a clash of armies, it was a turning point that sealed the fate of the Persian Empire and established Alexander as the ruler of a vast swath of the known world. Today, we'll break down the battle itself, the strategies employed by both sides, and the long-lasting effects that this confrontation had on history. Setting the stage, the Persian Empire's strength. Before we dive into the details of the battle, let's understand the forces involved. The Persian Empire, under King Darius III, was one of the largest empires in the ancient world. At its peak, it spanned 3 continents: Asia, Africa, and Europe. The empire's vastness was matched by its military power. Darius, despite some internal challenges, was determined to stop the rising threat of Alexander the Great, who had already begun conquering parts of Asia Minor, Egypt, and the Levant. By 331 BC, Alexander's campaign in the east had been relentless. His military genius and aggressive tactics had already led to the fall of several Persian-held territories, and now the Persian king was preparing for what he hoped would be the final confrontation. Darius assembled a massive army to face Alexander, with estimates suggesting that the Persian forces numbered between 100,000 and 200,000 soldiers, including cavalry, infantry, and war chariots. On the other hand, Alexander's army was significantly smaller, with only around 47,000 men. The disparity in numbers was staggering. Darius's army was larger, more diverse, and well-equipped for battle. But Alexander was not one to rely solely on brute force. He had a plan, and he was determined to use his strengths, speed, agility, and strategic brilliance to overcome the odds. The battle unfolds. Strategic mastery. The battle took place near the village of Gaugamela, located in present-day northern Iraq. As Alexander's army approached the battlefield, they found themselves on the plains, an ideal setting for the type of large-scale battle Darius was expecting. The vast open terrain would allow for Darius's superior numbers to be effectively utilized, so Alexander needed to think outside the box. One of Alexander's key strategies was his ability to adapt to the terrain and his opponent's strengths. He knew that the Persians relied on the central core of their army to create a strong, unbreakable line. So rather than directly engaging with this central force, Alexander's tactic was to create a gap in the Persian lines and strike with his cavalry, creating chaos and confusion. The battle began with Darius arraying his army in a wide, crescent-shaped formation. The Persians, led by Darius, relied heavily on their cavalry, war chariots, and archers. Meanwhile, Alexander positioned his troops in a deep, narrow formation, deliberately making his army appear weaker than it was. This tactic was designed to lure Darius into a trap. As the battle began, Alexander's forces engaged with the Persian flanks, using their speed and maneuverability to attack Darius's cavalry on the edges of the battlefield. The Persian chariots, which were a significant threat to infantry units, were countered by Alexander's skilled cavalry and light infantry, who skillfully neutralized the threat. The turning point, breaking the Persian lines. At a critical moment, Alexander himself led a daring charge with his companion cavalry, an elite unit of heavy cavalry, straight at the center of the Persian line. His target was Darius himself. As Alexander's cavalry drove through the Persian ranks, they reached Darius's royal chariot. This was the key moment of the battle. Darius, seeing his forces falter and his life in danger, made the fateful decision to flee the battlefield. At this point, the Persian army, leaderless and thrown into disarray, began to retreat. The soldiers, many of whom had already been demoralized by the pressure of the battle, now found themselves without the guiding hand of their king. The Persians, despite their superior numbers, were unable to regroup, and Alexander's army took full advantage. The aftermath, the fall of the Persian Empire. The immediate result of the Battle of Gaugamela was a decisive victory for Alexander. Despite the death of many Persian soldiers, the real impact of the battle was felt in the long-term consequences. Darius's retreat marked the end of his reign and the beginning of the unraveling of the Persian Empire. Though Darius would attempt to rally his forces for a few more years, his defeat at Gaugamela ensured that the Persian Empire was effectively defeated. Alexander, with his victory in hand, continued his conquest across Persia. The fall of key cities such as Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, along with the capture of Persian treasures, solidified Alexander's control over the Persian Empire's heartland. More importantly, this victory allowed Alexander to continue pushing eastward toward India, where his ambitions would push him into even more challenging terrain and cultures. The cultural impact. The Hellenistic era begins. While the Battle of Gaugamela was a military triumph, its effects were not limited to the battlefield. After securing Persia's most important cities, Alexander set out to spread Greek culture across the newly conquered territories. He founded many cities, most notably Alexandria, which became a hub of Greek culture and learning. The blending of Greek and Persian cultures led to the beginning of the Hellenistic era. This period saw the spread of Greek language, art, and ideas throughout the Middle East, Asia, and parts of India. It was a time of immense cultural exchange, with Greek philosophy influencing regions as far east as India, and Eastern ideas making their way into Greece and the broader Mediterranean world. Military innovation and legacy. In addition to its cultural impact, the Battle of Gaugamela had a lasting influence on military strategy. The tactics used by Alexander in this battle were studied by military leaders for centuries to come. His ability to adapt to different terrains, his use of cavalry to disrupt enemy lines, and his bold decision-making have become core lessons in military strategy. Modern armies still draw from Alexander's methods in their training. The Battle of Gaugamela also demonstrated Alexander's exceptional leadership. He was not just a brilliant strategist, but also a commander who led from the front. His ability to inspire his soldiers, even in the face of overwhelming odds, made him a figure of legend. His fearlessness and decisiveness in battle earned him the respect and loyalty of his men, and it ensured that his empire would continue to expand. The Battle of Gaugamela was more than just a military victory. It was a game changer for the entire ancient world. It marked the end of the Persian Empire and the beginning of a new era, one in which Greek culture spread across the known world and blended with the cultures of Asia and the East. Alexander the Great, through his genius, leadership, and audacity, reshaped the course of history. And so, from the ashes of the Persian Empire, a new world was born, a world influenced by the ideals of Greece, and forever changed by the vision of one of history's greatest conquerors. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with fellow history lovers. Leave us a comment if you'd like to hear more about Alexander the Great or any other historical figures and events. We'll see you in the next video.